and my credit score was in the 400s. Almost got my car repoed. Not once, but twice. Literally just last year, I was back to being broke. I just wanted to like live the life that I didn't have growing up.
Whoa, oh, oh. Da, 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 oh, oh. Da, 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 oh, oh. Da, 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 da. Making our Christmas memories.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Keisha if you're new here, and thank you for clicking on today's video. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about finances and my financial journey. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I thought it would be just like really interesting to share. I like watching other stories like this of people sharing kind of like their like come up story, because it's just so easy to see people online and just assume that like everybody has it easy, everybody has it made, and then you hear like the real behind the scenes story and you either realize that like everything that you see on social media isn't real and maybe they're not doing as well, or times that you thought they were doing well, they weren't. Or you kind of realize that like, yeah, maybe they're doing well now, but like this is where they started and this is where they came from, and now this is why they're doing well. So I thought it'd be very interesting to share my story because I definitely have a financial roller coaster journey. I just wanted to share this just in case any of you are out there and you're, you know, in your 20s or maybe even older and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, or I'm not making as much money as I want, or I don't feel like as successful as I want to be, or you're in a career that you don't want to be in, or that you're not loving, or you're not feeling like fulfilled in, or maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't know if you're ever going to get out of that cycle, or you have a really low credit score and you're like, I'm never going to get a home because my credit score is so low. So I just want to be the person to be here and be like, I have been there. I've been all of you. I've been all of that at once many times throughout my life. I'm 28 now, and I really didn't get into like this consistent point until very recently. So I just want to share my whole journey with you guys today, and hopefully some of you can relate, or like I said, hopefully if any of you are out there and you're just like really feeling down about your finances and where you are in life, just know that it can get better, and I hope that it does. Okay, but yeah, let's get into my financial journey, and we are gonna start with how I grew up. So I did not grow up with money at all. We were definitely a paycheck to paycheck family. Definitely, I would say pretty much on the poverty line. Like, we lived in very not so great neighborhoods and some not so great places. One thing I was always grateful for is I always had my own room. But you know, my earliest memory of living somewhere is living in the projects. I lived in the projects for all of elementary school until middle school, and then we moved down to like another area that was not the greatest and lived there for a while. And then yeah, we kind of just lived in some not so great places. Actually in high school, like this is kind of embarrassing to say, but my aunt's house, I used to tell people that's where my mom lived because I was just so embarrassed to let everybody know where I lived. So I would say like, if anybody dropped me off at like home, I would say, oh, this is where my dad lives, but like my mom lives over here in like this nicer house in this nicer neighborhood, which looking back now is like, so I used to be embarrassed like a few years after it, like looking back and oh, it's so embarrassing. Like I can't admit that, but now I just look back and I'm just like, it's just so sad. Like I was just so in my head and just like so embarrassed and ashamed of where I came from. And I just didn't want anybody to know, especially growing up. All my friends, like especially later in high school, like they all had money. They might not like rich money, but they were all like well off, like money and the big houses and like the suburbs. And I just like always wanted that. And I didn't have that. So I just pretended that I had it because I didn't want anybody to know, which is like, so it's just like, ah, my gosh. But yeah, so that's kind of how I grew up, like truly paycheck to paycheck. Truly did not know where the next meal was coming from. My mom worked like 3 different jobs. I barely ever saw her at parts of my life. My dad is someone that's not in my life right now, or hasn't been in years. I don't want him in my life. He was someone that always chose alcohol and drugs over the family. And I think that contributed a lot to why we were so poor. I mean, like, I like, again, grateful. I always had my own room, and like, you know, I was able to do like sports and cheerleading and like Girl Scouts and those type of things. But like, I just know how hard it was for my parents, but like she always like pulled through. Like there's always a way for me to do things, which I'm really grateful for. And it's hard, like you don't really realize those things when you're younger, but now I see her still struggling, and like my brother is in high school and she's still like dealing with it. So it's like hard, like kind of looking in on it now. But yeah, we didn't know where the next meal was coming from. We used to have food stamps. I remember going to the food pantry and getting boxes of food. Yeah, it was just, that's just kind of how I grew up. It was a little bit of a mess. And I mean, there's a lot more to the childhood stuff, but yeah, that's kind of how I grew up financially. Like, didn't really have money. I was like so excited to get my first job and start working and just be able to get my own car and just like start making money and being able to just like have money to spend. So I was so happy. My first job ever. I was so happy to start working because I just really wanted to just be able to go out and buy the things that I wanted to buy. And it wasn't even anything crazy. Like, I've never been like a big like luxury this and that person. I was like, I just want to be able to go to the store and buy a sweater or a pair of boots. Like, that's all I wanted. I just wanted the little things. So which is, I think now I'm just like, I love just buying a bunch of little things because I just didn't have that growing up. So now I like love going to like Target and Home Goods and just buying a bunch of little things. But anyway, we're getting ahead of the point. So yeah, that's kind of how I grew up. And then I went to college. I was so excited to move out. So if you guys don't know, I'm from Troy, New York, which is it's right by Albany, New York. I just say Albany all the time. And then I went a few hours away to Rochester, New York for college. I lived on campus, did the whole thing. Finances were pretty fine there. I, of course, typical college student, took out a bunch of loans to cover all the basic things like the housing and the school and everything. And then I also worked full-time, like all through college, all 3 years, I worked full-time. And I just kind of used that money to pay my car payment and then just have fun. I did save, but I did use a lot of it for fun. Looking back now, wish I was smarter and just knew what I knew now and used that money to like pay off my loans or pay for school as I went, but I didn't know that and I didn't know anything about money. No one ever taught me anything about money. And you'll see that as we progress through this story, because I made a lot of financial mistakes because I just didn't know. I didn't know the consequences of my actions, unfortunately. College, not much to talk about, pretty safe. Like I said, I got my bachelor's in 3 years and then I ended up moving. So I got my bachelor's in psychology. I went to be a behavior analyst. So I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, which was kind of random. One of my college best friends at the time moved there. I moved there with her. We lived together and I got a job there. So I worked as a PCC, which is basically an RBT, which is like a registered behavior technician. But for our company, we were PCCs, which was like person-centered coach. So my goal was to be a behavior analyst. And as this role, you were working under them and you got paid significantly less than them. So I started out making $14 an hour, which I remember for Louisville, like I remember telling my friend, she was like, oh my God, that's so great for like the city. And I'm like, great, awesome. But when I moved there in January of 2018. And I didn't actually like realize how long it was gonna take to get the process fully started because I had to like I had to like get clients and get onboarded with clients and then start doing the session. So it took a few months to start making steady income. And I like burnt through my savings within like the first 2 months. So I didn't really have a choice but to start doing like Uber Eats and DoorDash. So I was doing Uber Eats and DoorDash and the goal was just to do it until I started working with my clients and I was able to make more money. But what I wasn't doing at the time was I had taken out a bunch of credit cards in college, which I always made the payments. I didn't know anything about interest. Nothing about interest, didn't know how any of that worked. I always made the minimum payments, but I had like an Amazon card, I had an Ulta card, I had like a card through my bank, I had a Best Buy card. And I think I had like 2 Affirm loans from buying furniture when I moved to Louisville. I just didn't make any payments. I had just gotten a new car because I totaled my car in a snowstorm before I moved. So I wasn't making money. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I just won't make the payments right now. I'll just make them up later. Not realizing 1, how long it was gonna take to start making money from this job. And then 2, what the consequences of not making your payments are. Like I knew, okay, like I'll just make it up later. That's fine. I didn't know that things were gonna go to collections. I didn't know that you could get your car repoed. I didn't know that you were just stacking up late fees and interest fees and all this stuff. So I went a few months without making payments and next thing I know, I'm getting calls from collections because all these credit cards are going to collections. I almost got my car repoed. Not once, but twice. I remember getting the thing in the mail being like, if you don't pay this like $700 balance by this date, we're coming and taking your car. And I called the bank sobbing. I was crying. I was like, oh my God. Like, because I knew, like, I don't know why, I just thought that like, okay, I'm not making the payment now, I'll just make it up later. But like, I just didn't know the full consequences of these things, which is like, looking back now, it's kind of like, duh, Keisha, like obviously there's consequences, but like, I just didn't know that these things would happen. Like I didn't know about collections. And then I was like, okay, I didn't know anything about a credit score. I didn't know how the collections were gonna affect my credit score. I didn't even know why I needed a credit score. Like I just didn't know anything because no one ever taught me anything. They don't teach you this stuff in school. My parents didn't talk about money because they didn't have any money. They had probably terrible credit. So it's like, no one taught me this stuff. So I was just out here not making payments. I was just so miserable for like the first year and a half that I was there. I was so miserable. I was so broke. You wouldn't have even thought I was broke because I was going on weekend trips like every month. I was constantly traveling and doing these little trips. And literally when I tell you that I would do these trips and like come home to like a bank account of like $0 or like overdraft, and it's like, duh, if you don't have any money, don't go on the trip. But like, I just like really wanted to travel. I never traveled growing up. We never went on we went to like Alabama where my dad's from like twice. I never went on vacations growing up. So when I was like, oh wait, I can just hop on a flight and go places, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to leave. I just wanted to like live the life that I didn't have growing up. And again, all my actions came with consequences. So I'd have no money. I would have negative balances. I wish I could go through and see how much money I paid to my bank in overdraft fees, because I was constantly in overdraft. I would overdraft for paying bills. My mom or my sibling, my brother, people would ask me for money, and instead of saying, no, I don't have it, I just wanted people to think that I had it, like I was doing better than I was. So I would go into overdraft to send them money. I was like still doing Uber Eats and DoorDash constantly, like all day. I would work all day and I would do that all day. Weekends, I would do it like 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. like all day, every day. I was doing these apps, like just trying to make some money. I was taking out like, I was using apps like Dave and taking out like payday loans, and like literally the second I would have to pay it back, I would take out another one. I was using actual payday loans where the interest rates are like freaking ridiculous. Like oh my God, it like pains me to even think. I was using Spot Loan, which was insane interest. Like I don't even talk about it. It was so crazy. So yeah, so basically I have no money. I'm doing all these apps. I'm like trying to stay afloat. I have terrible credit. And like I said, the first year and a half I was miserable. I almost debated just like dropping everything and just moving back home for a while just to like get myself in a good place, because I was just like falling apart. Like I was like, nothing is going right. So I lived with my friend for the first year and a half. Our friendship started to kind of dwindle a bit. We were both kind of just like really broke and not happy in life. And I think it really affected our friendship, unfortunately. So we both owned our own apartment. And what I didn't realize was that like, one, I wasn't even gonna be able to like prove that I made enough to get an apartment on my own, because I wasn't really making consistent money. I guess if I put all the apps together, it would come by. But what I really didn't know is what my credit score was. So I had not checked my credit score in like a year and a half. So I went to look at my credit score, and my credit score was in the 400s. I think it was like 480 at its lowest. My stomach dropped. I did not realize how that had happened. And I look, and of course it's like 4, 5, 6, no, I think there was like 6 collections, and my car payment just late, and like 90 days late at that. So I just had so, like, if my chart for my car payment, almost every payment was late. So my credit score was like terrible. I was shook. So I was like, how am I gonna get my own apartment? Because like we didn't want to live together again. I didn't have anybody else there that I could even try to roommate with. I was like, I remember going to this one apartment that was just like, again, this one was not in a great area. It was not nice at all. And I just kind of was casually asking the landlord, like, oh, like if someone had bad credit, like would that be like a deal breaker? And he was like, oh, we'll see, case by case basis. Like couldn't really give me an answer. And I like remember just leaving crying in my car, because I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna be on the streets. Like I don't know where I'm gonna live. I have no money and I have like a 400 credit score. Where am I gonna live? So I was online, I was on Facebook Marketplace, and like literally sometimes the universe just comes in clutch, because the living situation I ended up in, while it wasn't the best, was just like a miracle sent from the universe above, because I ended up finding a post, a listing on Facebook Marketplace, and someone was saying that there was 2 girls living there. They were looking for 2 roommates, one to share an upstairs room, and then one to take this room that they converted, the space in the basement that they converted into a room, and they said it was gonna be $550 a month with utilities and stuff included. So I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. I can pay that with everything included. I was like, that's beautiful. So I went there, I looked, loved it. And then the only thing I was nervous about was the background and credit check. So she's like, okay, great. Like it was like the, one of the girls that lived there that was like just doing it for the landlord. So she's like, okay, I'll let them know. And then, you know, you'll fill out the application and do blah, blah, blah. So I'm like so panicked that I'm going to get denied once he sees my background. Or like not my background, but like looks at my credit score and like sees my credit history and stuff. But I don't know how, but for whatever reason, the universe was on my side, and they did not do, there was like 8 people that owned the house. It was a very interesting setup. It was like in Louisville, and it was a house, like a 3-bedroom house, like 3-story. And these owners that lived in these condos, these really nice condos next door, split the house, bought it because there was these garages behind it and they wanted the garages. So they didn't live there, but there was like 8 owners. But the main guy never ended up doing a credit check. He never even like looked at my income, did anything. He just like trusted her and like just sent me a lease to sign. And it was kind of like a addendum to the lease that they just like made up. So I moved in and I was like, thank the universe that worked out. And I had just signed on for 6 months because I thought I was moving to LA. I don't know why. I always thought I wanted to live in LA, so I thought I was gonna move to LA. So I was like, okay, the lease was ending. I moved in February. I moved in February of 2019. And then the lease was ending in August because that's when the whole lease was ending. So I moved in, like I said, that was like the universe being on my side. Was not the best situation. Definitely had some beef with the one girl that lived there. She ended up moving out early. The girl that was like running the whole thing, she was psychotic. So she left and then it was the other 3 of us. And then when the lease ended, the one girl left. And then me and the one girl that had both moved in at the same time, actually we became like really good friends. So one, I still couldn't get a place on my own, but 2, I really liked living with her. So we were like, why don't we just like renew this ourselves? Because I was like, okay, if we renew, he's not gonna like check our backgrounds or rerun like a credit check or anything. So we ended up renewing there. I stayed there, and that's actually the house that I started this channel in 2020. So I lived there, was still doing the Uber Eats and the DoorDash and trying to just like make it by. And then in May of 2020, I graduated with my master's. Oh yeah, so before I even moved into this house, I had started my online master's program to become a behavior analyst. So in May, I had graduated with my master's, and then I stayed with the company I was at and was immediately able to move up. So at that point, I was making 16 an hour. I think after a couple months, I went from 14 to 16. And then once I became a behavior analyst, I started making, it depended on the client, depending on which, like, I can't even think what program they were in. I was either making 66 an hour with a client or 91 an hour with a client. And most of my clients were the ones that I was making 91 an hour with. So I started making so much more money than I ever had made or ever could have imagined. I didn't even know the pay. I had almost moved out of Louisville, but when they told me that was the pay, I was lit, especially because you're supposed to technically, for all states, I think except for like 2 or 3, you have to go get like your board certification in order to move into that role. But in Kentucky, you didn't have to. So that's why I ended up even staying in Kentucky, because it was like, oh, I can move up and make way more money without having to be board certified yet. So I did that while I was in the process of being board certified, doing my hours and stuff. And then yeah, I was just making really good money. So I was able to just like pay off all my collections. I was able to start saving a lot of money. I was able to get my own place. My credit still wasn't the best. I think it was like 580 by the time I paid off my collections and like got caught up in my car payments and stuff. And then in August of 2020 is when I moved into my own apartment in Louisville. So I got approved for this apartment. I was so scared that I wasn't gonna get approved, but I did. I got approved with conditions, but approved nonetheless.
So happy. I am so, words can't even describe how happy I am.
And I was able to move in. I remember I got a 2-bedroom instead of a 1-bedroom. So I was like, oh, I'm making money now. Now we can pay. I was paying $500 for, well, no, because then when we ended up splitting rent, I was paying like $800, or I think we paid $900 each when it was just the 2 of us. And then I was paying like almost $1,700 by myself. And I was like, oh my God. I just thought I was like rolling in the dough. So I did well. What I wish I knew now, what I know now is like really trying to be debt free and like paying off like cars and student loans and like everything. I wish I knew that. Like, I wish I was listening to like Dave Ramsey back then and had more of that mindset to like just throw money at my student loans and stuff like that. But I didn't. But you know, I did pay off collections. I was saving money. I was getting my credit score up. I was paying all of my bills, like the beginning of the month. For the whole month, I'd have all my bills paid in the beginning of the month. So I was chilling. Like, honestly, that was a really good point in my life. And then we moved to Nashville in August of 2021. So I did it for a year, realized I didn't want to be a behavior analyst forever, and I didn't want to be in Louisville. So I decided to get my real estate license. We moved to Nashville. We moved into this house in the suburbs. And I'm like, yes, like I said, I always wanted to live in the suburb. I loved my Louisville apartment, actually, I liked the last 2 places I lived in Louisville. I loved the house that I rented with the girls. That was like a really fun area to live in. And then I loved my apartment in Louisville. I loved that location. But now I'm like, okay, we're moving into that house in the suburbs. Like I said, I always wanted to live in the suburbs. So I was so happy. If you guys have been along for this journey, then I started with Smart City, which is an apartment locating company that was here. Worked with them from August through November, did really well. So like I had a bunch of savings from my old job, didn't really have to touch it. And I was adding more to it because I was doing really well at Smart City with locating. And they ended up closing in November. So I had a few months. I think I had like 5 months of savings that I could use to kind of float myself through while I like did another transition and started making more money. So I went into buy sell. And so I was scared to get back into locating again, so I was like, okay, if they're closing, maybe all the companies are closing. So I get into buy sell and I'm not motivated at all. I don't do any deals. I'm like not that motivated. I am quickly burning through my savings and I'm like, I need to do something to make money again. So if you guys watch my vlogs, I started substitute teaching. I didn't really tell you guys why and say because I'm running low on money, but I started substitute teaching just to make a little bit of money. I feel like I would have liked substitute teaching, but the school I taught at sucked. Like, so I hated it. That was like the most miserable experience ever. I hated it so much. Oh my God, that school was a train wreck. But nonetheless, it was substitute teaching. I started doing Instacart. I was doing Shipt, Uber Eats. Like I'm doing all these apps trying to just stay afloat because the savings ran out. I was still not doing deals and buy stuff in real estate. It's like March of 2022 and I'm like out of money. So I'm doing that. And then from March until September of 2022, which is so crazy, that was literally just last year, I was back to being broke. I was back to being paycheck to paycheck, to having no money, to like doing all of these side gigs. I'm trying to like, I didn't really mention, but I was doing YouTube. I said I was doing YouTube in 2020, I think. Yeah, where I started my channel. So I'm doing YouTube. I did like, make some money off of YouTube, but it's not enough to like live off of. And so I'm trying to do YouTube and I'm trying to do real estate and I'm just doing all these side gigs. So I'm just like burning myself out because I'm just like here and there and everywhere, just trying to do so much just to literally just to pay bills. And I was like, this is not life. We're not meant to be on this earth to just like work just to pay bills and not be able to do anything else. So it was so stressful because I was like, I want to do fun things. I wanted to travel and just like, I didn't have any money. Like I didn't do almost any travels last year. Last year was also just the worst year ever in general, just with that. And then like our dog had passed suddenly and then my aunt had passed. It was just like, honestly, last year was in the top 2 of like worst years of my life. First year being 2018 when I was really broke and miserable, and last year when I was really broke and miserable. And everything else went to shit. Last year was probably my worst year of my whole life. That was awful. So fully miserable. My relationship was on the rocks because I was miserable. I was never home and I was just so tired. I like didn't want to even like hang out. I didn't want to have sex because I was so tired. And I was just like, I just wasn't feeling myself at all. Like anything in my life, everything felt like it was falling apart. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm just literally just working and coming home, being miserable, fighting with Cody. Just like nothing was working out. I was just absolutely miserable. So that was like all of last year basically. And then August of last year of 2022, I decided that I wanted to get back into locating. I was like, you know what? I loved it. I was motivated. I was really good at it. So like, let me reach out to these locating companies. So I reach out, I interviewed with After Me, Go Home With Now, and I joined with them in September of last year. Of course, with locating and like real estate and stuff, it takes a while to get the business going. So it did take a few months to really get things going. So from like September of last year through January, I was trying to hustle. I'm still doing Uber Eats and Shipt and just trying to make money like that on the side. And then I'm like doing locating deals and starting to like get in the groove of things. And then about February of this year of 2023 is when things finally started to get consistent. I was finally getting some good checks, and then it just really progressed throughout the year. So I was like making more money on my YouTube channel, which was really great. I was doing really good in locating, and then the checks started getting bigger. My monthly commissions were getting bigger, especially in the summer. This past summer I had such good checks. I had such good months. Like I said, I made a video, 1 month I made over $18,000, which is like so crazy. I never thought, like not every month is like that, but it was insane. Like there was a couple months in the summer into the fall where like, I think there was 3 weeks back to back where my check was like $10,000. So like within 6 weeks, I had gotten $30,000 into my account, and I'm like, and now I'm back to being consistent. Like it's like not so busy season right now, but it's great because now it's the holidays and things are busy, and I made so much money in the summer that I'm still getting paid out over time that like I can take it kind of easy this month and not work as hard, and like I still have money coming in, and I still have quite a lot of money that I'm still waiting to get paid out. So it's like I can kind of like take it a little more easy this month, and I don't have to just like hustle every second of the day, which is just like from now to this time last year is so crazy, because this time a year ago I was probably out doing shipped orders and just trying to make money just to make ends meet. And now I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't really feel like going that hard this month. I'm gonna take it easy, and then we're gonna pick things back up in January and hustle again in the summer. And then if I want to take the winters a little easy, I can. That's kind of where I'm at now. So if you guys watch my locating stuff or my videos, now I'm at a point where I'm making over 6 figures, but just locating. That doesn't include any of my like social media money or anything like that. And now I'm building a team under me, and it's been great because I also make a little commission off of them. They're helping to build up my money, which is really great. That's kind of where we're at now, and it is about to be December of 2023. So yeah, that's my financial journey. Now, like I said, we're in a good spot, caught up on bills. I pay all my bills ahead of time. Like, especially in the summer, I was like paying bills months, like 1 to 2 months in advance just to get things paid, building up savings, working on, like I said, I've been listening to a lot of Dave Ramsey. I'm not like full on Dave Ramsey mode, but I'm doing a lot of it. Like this year alone, I paid off, oh my God, what? Like, I think a little over $30,000 of debt this year. Somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 of debt this year. And just paying off like old loans. Oh, I didn't even mention, before I was small, I didn't do my taxes for a couple of years when I was a behavior analyst because I didn't know as an independent contractor. I didn't know anything about taxes. I didn't know that you had to do taxes or put money aside for taxes, so I didn't do it. And I had like 3 years of IRS back owed taxes. So I paid those literally this year, paid those off. Paid off my 1 car, we're almost done paying off the 2nd car, and then all I have left is my student loans. A mess. Just so much old stuff from my old mistakes that I had to like kind of make, like pay off this year and just like play catch up with. But now we're good, we're in a good spot. Like I said, all I have left right now is just pay off the car and then my student loans for the degree that I don't use. So that's fine. Full focus on trying to be debt-free, building up my savings, just to have savings, have an emergency fund, which is great. Also working on, now we have to start saving for a wedding because I got engaged a few weeks ago, if you guys didn't see that. Saving for a house, and yeah, just all the things. So that is my financial journey. And again, I really want to make this video just in case any of you are there. Like I said, if you're in a spot where you just don't feel good about your career, your finances, or your future, and you just don't know what is going on, it can get better. Because I had been there where I was like, I am at my all-time low. I was like, I've hit rock bottom twice in my life. It is just so hard when you're that low in life and you're just like at rock bottom to just see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I get it, because I didn't think so either. I was like literally just taking it day by day because I was like, I am falling apart at the seams. But I just want to be the person to be here and be like, it can get better, it will get better. My biggest advice is just figure out what you want to do with your life. Do something you're passionate about, but that you can also make a lot of money with. I know people are like, money's not everything. Money doesn't cost happiness or whatever, but I'm like, you know what? I'm a lot happier in life with money than without. And yes, it's not the end all be all in life, but like it definitely makes life a lot more easy. So let's be real. So yeah, figure out what you love to do, find a way to make a lot of money, and just be smart. Don't make bad decisions like I made. And if you're in a place where you've already made a lot of bad decisions, you can crawl out of it. Like I said, I had like a 480 credit score and now it's like 680, I think. Yeah, it's 680. So it can go up. It's not perfect, but it was way better than a 480. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like I said, I really wanted to film this for a while, so I'm happy that I finally sat down to film it. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and do all the things. And I will see you guys again in another video. Bye guys.
Hold you close, forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.